Well, we got the news on this morning. Trump is determined to get his hands on Greenland. The fact that he's gone to Venezuela already, he's taken Venezuela, and now Venezuela's going to give him about 50 million, the Americans, about 50 million pounds worth, dollars worth of oil. They're going to give him it. Trump, stop lying to the world. The Americans, stop lying. We all know what you want Greenland for, and it's not for national security. That's a load of bullshit. The ordinary working class people on this planet, we're not stupid. We know what you're after. It's all about the oil and the minerals. So stop lying to the world and do yourself a favour. Keep your hands off Greenland, because it's not going to end well for America, that one. It definitely ain't. You're going to end up with more trouble than than it's worth. As if, and apart from anything else, it's a NATO country. Now, if you're going to behave like this, America, then I think the time's come for you to be kicked out of NATO. Definitely. The North Atlantic, and to be isolated, and the rest of the world to stop dealing with you Americans, because this nastiness, I mean, Trump is just a spoilt brat anyway. He'll stamp his feet, and I want this and I want that, and if he don't get what he wants, he throws rattle out at pram, or teddy out at pram. He just carries on like a baby. Well, I'm just an ordinary working class English bloke, and I can see straight through you, Trump. I know exactly what you are, who you are, what you're about, and what you're after. And I'm supposedly one of the non-educated. But when it comes down to it, people like me are way smarter than you, Trump. We've got more fucking integrity than you have. And I'm more of a man than you will ever be, Trump. Definitely. I've fought for my country. I've put my life on the line for my country. It's something you, Trump, have never done. And now you're threatening Greenland. I'd give that one up if I were you, because you're going to end up in a pile of shite. We're now starting that you're doing everything that killed the British Empire. Everything. What killed the Russian Empire in 91, the Ottoman Empire, all the great superpowers that ran the world at one point or another, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the Japanese, the Mongols, and now, and Britain's had its turn. It's done. And rightly so. Britain shouldn't be ruling other countries. All the countries should be ruling themselves. But now your imperialistic attitudes and ambitions, Trump, are going to be the downfall of the United States of America. Right now, you're in stage 5 of the collapse of a superpower. And don't try and bamboozle us with fucking baffle us with science. The bloody politicians at the moment throughout the world, I don't know, somebody's giving them a bloody drug or something, or put something in the water, and it's making them stupid. But the ordinary working people of the planet, we're educated, we've got access to the internet, we've got access to newspapers, we read history books, we've all had an education. Unless, of course, you're American, in which case there is no education system in the American continent. None. If there was, in the United States of America, an education system, you wouldn't have people like Donald Trump. So just give up on the idea of Greenland. There are no Russian and Chinese ships hovering around the coastal waters of Greenland. That's a fantasy made up in Trump's head. And it's just a fantasy. Trump doesn't do anything. Every time he opens his mouth, he lies. Just like his mate Putin. Every time these two guys speak, or the Chinese leaders speak, it's lie after lie after lie. Nothing ever comes out that's truthful. Nothing. So, my advice to you, Trump, is forget Greenland. Step down. pack it in. You've obviously got dementia. There's something not right in your head. You've definitely got some sort of mental illness that comes on with age. You've always been an arrogant bully. I've seen you through you right from the very beginning. When I first encountered you, I read your character. You're nothing more than an arrogant schoolyard bully. And when you don't get what you want, you threaten people. You start lashing out, or you get somebody else to do it for you. You won't actually get involved in a punch-up with anybody, Trump, because you're not man enough for that. You never have been, you never will. But we all know what it's about. It's not about national security. It's about minerals, wealth, oil, gas, rare earth metals. The last time your Americans were in Greenland was World War II. And the Danish are still cleaning up the fucking mess that you lot left behind. Somewhere under the Greenland ice are 2 portable nuclear reactors that the Americans never removed. And they're stewing out radiation all over the place. And it's going to cost absolutely billions to clean that up. A bill that the Americans, although you caused it, you Americans, are never ever going to own up to responsibility and clean that fucking mess up. America, basically, is a third world shithole. I've worked with you as a soldier. I've worked with American soldiers. They're about as much use as a fucking well-sucked mint. And this idea that you could take Greenland militarily, you Americans can't fight your way out in a wet paper bag. You never have been able to. You've never started a war with anyone that you've won on your own. You always have to call in backup. Korea, it became a United Nations problem. But you Americans frigging started it. World War One, you turned up late. World War Two, you turned up late. The Vietnam War, again, you turned up late. You threw hundreds of thousands of guys into Vietnam, got bloody loads of them killed, and you still ended up losing. And even then, you had to have the help from the Australians, the New Zealanders, Canadian volunteers, the Philippines, South Korea, even Malaysia threw guys into it to help you out, and you still bloody lost. You went into a jungle warfare with the Australian SAS backing you, and they took on the majority of the work. Meanwhile, Britain, this pitiful little country that's not fought a war in 40 years, was carrying on in Malaya, Aden, Cyprus. Well, the Vietnam War was going on. We went into Malaya with a company of Gurkhas, 150 bloody Gurkhas, some volunteer SAS guys from Australia, from Rhodesia, because the British SAS had been disbanded. And now it got reinstated. And so some guys from Rhodesia, the Rhodesian SAS, went into the jungles of Malaya. Strange thing is, we went in with less than 500 people in the whole campaign. A regiment of Gurkhas, a Gurkha company of Gurkha rifles. We won a Hearts and Minds campaign with the locals. We won them over to our way of thinking. And we beat the communist uprising. This is about the same time that Vietnam was going on. 1982, Britain sailed 8,000 miles south to the Falkland Islands to kick out the Galtieri. Outnumbered 4-1. We took the islands in less than 4 weeks. Retook the islands in less than 4 weeks. Having sailed 8,000 miles. No backup. No allies. Nobody backing us up. Right now, at the present moment, the British military can put 40,000 soldiers in a war zone anywhere in the world with 24 hours notice to get ready for it. 24 hours. Something you Americans can't do. You're talking about attacking Greenland with military force. The US Army doesn't have enough Arctic trained warfare soldiers to cope with that one. Yet meanwhile in Europe, Denmark has dedicated units and all they care about is Arctic warfare. They go and train in Greenland. They know it. It's the back of their hand. The British Royal Marines are a specialised Arctic warfare unit. 2 years ago, or was it a while back, I can't remember exactly when, but 150 Royal Marines took on, in an exercise, 1,500 American soldiers. It was supposed to be a 5-day exercise, military war games. At the end of day 2, the Americans asked to stop the games because they were losing. They couldn't understand why they were losing. Because your average American's a bit bloody thick. The American forces, having worked with them, I can tell you now, you are not up to a war with the Danish people and the British Royal Marines and the Norwegian Royal Marines fighting in Greenland. You're not up to it. The island of Greenland is sparsely populated. You've more danger of getting attacked by a fucking polar bear than you have by an American soldier in Greenland, honestly. And all this bollocks about we need it for security. You've got 5 bases on Greenland, you Americans, at least 5. Operational, Chrome Dome and everything. The radar stations you set up. If you're really worried about security and what have you, national security and everything, why don't you just reinforce the bases that we already got? It's quite simple. Because it's bollocks. It's national security. It's a load of bollocks. All you're interested in is the minerals and the oil and the bloody gas. So stop sugarcoating it and giving us all the bullshit, because we already know what it's about. And I'll tell you now, if you're thinking about going having a go at Greenland from a military point of view, think very carefully. Because Britain has a policy. The British have always done this. We have a saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Now I know in 82, there was an incident in Northern Ireland where 4 American Special Operations guys came ashore in a little rubber dinghy. They were challenged by a British Army patrol. The British Army patrol, thinking these people were up to no good, and they challenged them. The Americans replied to the challenge with gunfire. The whole incident took about less than 3 minutes. And it turned out the Americans were elite special forces, so-called, that they got took out by a bunch of bloody recruits. This is in 82, because the recruits were there in Ireland to take over from the regular British Army who'd gone down to fight the Argies in the South Atlantic. So they came up against a bunch of fresh recruits, straight out recruit training, on the streets in Northern Ireland, patrolling. And this patrol came across these Americans. There was a gunfight that lasted about less than 3 minutes. And the Americans, 4 of them, were dead. Now, the British government has never had, of the Americans, a satisfactory explanation as to what those guys were doing there. And we have a saying in Britain, keep your friends close. Friends and family close, but your enemies closer. And we know that at any time the British are prepared for war against the Americans. Because you Americans are two-faced, lying, cheating bastards that can't be trusted. And we, the British, we know that. We saw it in World War II. And if you want to know what happened in World War II, look up the Battle of Bamber Bridge. Segregation, where the British locals, stuck up for the African American soldiers against the white fucking racists and fascists. There was a gun battle at Bamber Bridge. The white American forces lost to a bunch of pensioners and old folk that weren't even in the army. We never trust you Americans. I've worked with your American armed forces in places like South America on anti-drugs operations. And I know what you're about, you Americans. I don't trust you. I never have done. And Trump especially. Ever since I first come across that bloke, I've known one thing about him. He's a bully, an arsehole, and every time he opens his mouth, he lies about everything. You shake hands with Trump, you make sure your wristwatch is still on your hand. He's that kind of guy. He's a paedophile, he's a sex offender, he's a convicted criminal, and he's just a plain, simple, he's a gangster. Him and Putin are cut from the same cloth. But the thing that alarms me about America is that you ordinary Americans are so thick, stupid, and dumb that you believe every single fucking word that Trump tells you. To be honest, you're idiots, because Trump is just a lying bastard. A lying criminal bastard. It's all he ever will be. He isn't even man enough to serve in the military, the armed forces of the United States of America. He goes on about bone spurs. It's a lie. It always has been. It's a lie. He's just a lying scumbag with all the class of an unflushed toilet that's full of shit. That's Trump. He's no class, no breeding. He ain't even a man. At least Putin served in the Russian military, something Trump has never done, and he never will. Not one Trump has ever served the armed forces, in the armed forces. But yet, the British Royals, they all do it. It's a matter of sense of duty. I must join the Royals, the British Royals. The late Queen Elizabeth did her time driving an ambulance and what have you, and working with the British Army's transport regiment as a lady. She did her time. I can guarantee when the shooting starts and Washington starts getting bombed, Trump will be nowhere near America. He'll be out of there. Because he isn't man enough to face the bombing. Now, he's good at stirring the shit, is Trump. He always has been. But this time, he's going too far. And he's going to lead America into a whole heap of shit. America is not the superpower it thinks it is. It never has been. The British Army, military, as small as it is, we recruit quality, not quantity. And every single one of our soldiers in the British military personnel is worth 10 Americans. The Royal Marines, every soldier that serves in the British military, every soldier is a specialist. Is recruited for their ability to think and use the brains and their physical attributes. The British military, it's 32 weeks basic training. That's professionalism. The Americans, you get 16 weeks and they'll employ any old bubba. Right, and then when it comes to the education system, the British military only recruits people with a brain. And on that little rant, I'm going now. I'm going to have my breakfast. And I'm going to sit and laugh at the news.